Pastor Mike, good afternoon and welcome to the latest in our Village Hall series, which today comes from a magical part of the island, Beth.
It really does. Some say Dalby, others say Dalby, but any way you say it, that's where we are. We're going to be finding out about the history of this place. There's a little bit of folklore. Maybe we're going to meet Jeff the Mongoose, I don't know.
And I can smell bacon going on. There is soda cakes being created right behind us as I speak, which I can't wait to try as well.
But first, our soul starter.
Abbey Dental, sponsors of Late Lunch for all aspects of today's dental care. Highly recommended throughout the Isle of Man.
All I can ever be my tears dry.
Pastor Mike, good afternoon and welcome to Dalby Village Hall. We are here, we're standing outside at the moment. It is beautiful down here. If you happen to be in the area, well worth popping in, not least because there's a lot of soda cakes being baked inside, Beth.
Which you have already sampled.
I have. Do you know what? It's my first ever soda cake experience.
You weren't slow going in for it, love.
So tasty.
We're just standing outside the door just to take in the beautiful garden they've got here. I wish I knew more about flowers and could name some of them for you, but they are just gorgeous. This is a magical part of the world. We're going to be finding out more about that a little bit later, but I think we should go in and meet some of the people as we continue our Village Hall series. Here we are in the west of the island. So this is Dalby Village Hall, attached to St James's Church.
You can see all of the video as well of this, by the way. We should say it is being streamed live.
So we'll say hello to everybody who's baking. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Oh, there's a lot of activity going. We came in over an hour ago now, and they were already baking up an absolute storm. There must be hundreds of soda cakes here. I want to try and get through all of them, Beth.
Well, I think you've made a good start. But let's find out a little bit about the history of where we are today. And Cheryl Cousins, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
What's your connection to Dalby Village Hall then?
It's been my life for years. We can't remember when this started, but it was in the mid-80s, we think. And at the time, I was a potter running a craft centre downstairs. And there was a public meeting because they discovered dry rot throughout the building, upstairs particularly, but it went right through the building. And there were only 3 80-year-old people still worshipping here. So there's no money, and there was a public meeting to close the building. And about 30 people turned up, which was unbelievable in those days. And at the end of that meeting, I discovered I was the coordinator for Friends of St James's, and I was in my 20s. So, yeah, and I've been here ever since.
And it's seen a great deal of change, not least in the past sort of year or so when the downstairs has been developed, and so much happens here. Just give us a flavour.
Yeah, it's just a community centre. So we've got a definite understanding here that it's church and community, and most of the time we don't know where the two one ends and the other starts. But people know that there's no heavy evangelism going on. If they come and are part of what happens in the schoolrooms, then that's the community hub, really. And the same people help me set up for church services with love. And so, yes, there's loads going on. It's very much a centre for the village. It's used by a wide range of people. We have initially, I suppose, it started as fundraising activities to try and deal with the dry rot. So we started 30-something years ago with one event every month, and we've done that for the last 30-something years.
And it certainly has grown since then.
And Cheryl's being very humble here because I've been given a list of the various things that Cheryl's involved with from Margie, who we're going to speak to in just a moment. I'm just going to read them out. So, local minister, she does meditation, art classes, hub coordinator, website and email coordinator, gardener, mums and tots coordinator, and I would imagine many more things beside. You're clearly a very, very busy person, Cheryl. We're also joined by Beryl, who you were there in the very early days of setting up the Friends of St James as well.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what you remember from that time.
Well, I remember the place being in a bad state and discussing what we were going to do about it, whether they would close the church and we managed to arrange to set up the Friends of St James. And since then, it's just gone from one height to another, really.
And you've been very much a part of this community for many years, and I believe you were part of you ran the Glenmay Post Office, is that right? Tell us about that.
Oh, unfortunately it's closed now, but I had
Up at Glenmay, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was.
I loved it there, and I really enjoyed myself. And I used to come up here to church, Now I'm living in Peel, and it's not quite so easy for me to get up because I'm not driving any longer. But
you still coordinate the whist drive, and Beryl's done that for years. Whist drive's gone on longer than the Friends of St James's. None of us know when the whist drive started. So, she's still very involved.
And actually, we were talking to you about the whist drive before, and you said it can be quite competitive.
Well, sometimes it is, but on the whole, it's a friendly meeting, and we have a cup of tea and a piece of homemade cake and a sandwich in the interval, plus a raffle. We do it once a month on the second Tuesday, and so, we like to see anybody here that comes, but really nowadays the younger people don't seem to play cards like we did, but we enjoy ourselves here. The first time I came up, I was sitting having tea at the table with the four of us round the table and talking to the lady next to me, and she said, "Where did I come from?" And I said, "I came from London." And she said, "What part?" And it turned out she lived in the next road to me. And we went to the same school, but she was several years older than I was. So we didn't know each other from that, but, I felt, I was coming home sort of thing.
It's lovely, and it does seem to have that real sort of community and connected feel here in that respect.
Well, I think we use the word hub quite a lot, and I don't think anywhere sort of personifies that better than here, because from young to old, there is something going on in Dalby for people. And Margie Killier, what I love about anybody who's connected with this place is that you don't just have one role. You are Friends of St James's coordinator, baker, and maintenance coordinator.
Yes, we all bake. We all bake. I was just saying to someone before, when anyone new moves into the village, one of the first questions is, do you bake? Because all our events are homemade cooking. Everything's homemade, so the more people we get to bake with us, the better. As you can see today, we've got a good crowd of bakers with us.
And of course, it is the home of the World Bonnet Championships as well. Are there any secrets that you're going to let us have?
All our secrets are in our book.
Ooh. Is this a book that people can look at, or is this
a slice of Dalby? It's the best cookery book in the world.
Can we just clarify the pronunciation of Dalby? It is Dalby, not Dalby.
Yes, it's Dalby. Yeah.
Some of the historic photographs, it's actually spelled Dawby.
Oh, is it really?
And there's one photograph which has the Ballacallan village rather than Dalby village. That's quite an old one. So, but DAW.
Now we know.
We do, and we'll be finding out much more about this town, and also we'll be speaking to James Franklin from Culture Vannon as well about the various histories and stories around a certain talking mongoose.
The Dalby
spook. A bit later as well, the Dalby spook, exactly. But when we did our Village Hall series from Arbury, we started with a particular piece of music by the Kinks, which seemed to work extremely well, the Village Green Preservation Society. So let's have a different version of it now. You like this lady, don't you, Beth?
I really do. Kate Rusby. Kate Rusby, a perfect song that sums up this Village Hall series. If you head to the Manx Radio Facebook page, we are now live on there.
And I am standing next to a table where we've got Eileen next to some griddles, and we've got Anne with a rolling pin in her hand. And just tell us about soda cakes, because as I said earlier, this is the first time I've ever experienced a soda cake. What makes good soda cake?
What makes it? Well, it's the combination of the ingredients and the work that goes into it and the way you cook it. And the best soda cakes are sold at Dalby.
Oh, there you go. And they're stacking them up here. Eileen, the thing I found very interesting about this is the way that they're cooked.
On the griddle?
Yeah.
Yes.
I expect they'd be baked, but no.
No, they don't go in an oven. They're cooked on the griddle on the top.
How many soda cakes do you think you have made? Because I think there must be 100 here just today.
I've lost count. I don't know.
Is there a secret?
It's Mother's recipe. When I was a child growing up, we lived on a farm. The baker came once a week. And to supplement that, Mum made soda cakes. And this is the soda cake recipe.
And is it buttermilk, or is it what's good?
Oh no, buttermilk. Manx flour, Manx soda bread flour and buttermilk.
Lovely. And it's a very different thing to a bonnet, isn't it?
Well, yes, it's flat and it's cooked on the griddle. The bannock is cooked in the oven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, these are marvellous, I have to say. Like I said, we were able to sample some earlier. And how can other people outside of this get hold of your Dalby soda
In
cakes?
the Dalby book. In the Dalby book. The recipe's in the Dalby book.
There you go. So they can make them themselves, Beth, or they could always come down here and purchase them if they like, or try them at one of the open days.
I would definitely opt for that option rather than you or I trying to bake one. I mean, maybe we should give it a go at some point, Christy. I am now with Nikki and Gilly, and we've got a really interesting collection of articles and photographs here, Nikki. Just to, first of all, tell us what your connection to here is.
I'm basically the advertiser and Facebook coordinator, and basically I run the World Bonnet Championships as well.
Oh, so you're the person to speak to about that. We'll come to that a little bit later. Gilly, what do you do?
Well, I help do the bookings for the hub downstairs, which is our new hostel and exhibition area. Renting it out for anybody who wants to stay there.
Really excited about going to see that, actually. This will be available on the podcast, so we'll take a video tour down there. But it's a wonderful, wonderful space, and it is still fairly new, isn't it, Gilly?
Oh, it is. It's only just recently opened. We've had one unofficial official guest, so that was the surprise visit from the tourist board. That was excellent. And we've had 2 real guests staying. We've got a few bookings coming up. Plenty of room vacancy still. Anybody want TT? Come and see us. That'll be great.
What a place to stay in TT, especially because there are TTTs, Nikki, aren't there?
As you just happened to mention, yes, we sort of run on Mad Sunday. We like to sort of advertise it as a little oasis of calm in the madness that happens on TT week. We start at 10:30 in the morning with bacon baps, go through soup and sandwiches through the day, and of course there's lashings of cake, coffee, tea, as much as anybody can manage. And we're sort of getting to the point where a lot of the bikers are now remembering that we're here and coming over on a regular basis.
And speaking of the bikers and Bonnets, all in one sentence, there's a very interesting champion of the World Bonnet Championships this year.
There is, very much so, yes, Dan Sale. We were so chuffed when he won this year. He couldn't stop grinning from ear to ear. And I think Kiri said he actually went home to sleep with the trophy that night.
We'll say no more about that. But I mentioned this collection of photographs and articles. How wonderful to document just how far you've come with this place.
Oh, yes. Some of the articles go back sort of well into sort of the early 90s, just sort of trying to keep the press coverage, little things that we did. We've got things like the World Bonnet Championships, obviously. We've got photographs here of different events. We did Wild West, sort of May Day Fair. We did theme nights. We've even got photographs here of originally back in 92, 93, just before my husband and I got married here. We had to decorate the church for our wedding. Not flowers and ribbons, it was strip the paint off first. There's a photograph of my mother-in-law Beryl here ripping up the carpet. It was well and truly get stuck in if you want to get married here, and it just gave the whole community an incentive because nobody had been married here for 10 years previous because they had to get a special licence. We've had quite a few weddings since, and it's sort of now a lot easier to get married here because it's the whole church. It just gives you a whole little sense, a special feeling to the wedding day.
Oh, it is just a magical place. We're going to be talking much more about it, but for now, we'll take a short break.
Oh, I love that song so much. So does Beth. And Beth was singing along to Nilsson there. That is Everybody's Talking at Me. Covered, if you remember, Beth, by Everything But the Girl as well. They did a lovely version of that.
Was it
I think
I
so.
thought it was Beautiful South.
Oh, Beautiful South.
I got some music knowledge right.
You're right.
Quite
It was
excited.
Beautiful South. I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, we are live from Dalby this afternoon as part of our Village Halls series, and we've been talking about the recent years, if you like, and the renovation that's gone on here. But Margie Killier, your dad went to school here.
Yes, his whole family went to school here. They actually lived in Dalby there, and there was 11 of them originally, and the survivors went to school here, yes.
So this was the actual schoolroom in where we're standing now?
It's 2 rooms. There was 2 classes because of the dividers. And we've been to the museum and we've looked at the history of the schoolroom and the diary of the schoolmaster, and it's very, very interesting because they mention that on certain days in the winter the temperature dropped so low that the schoolmaster closed the school and sent the children home, and on one occasion he came in and a window had blown in and he sent the children home. And also they were given holidays for set and potatoes. The children had a set and potatoes holiday and a pick and blackberries holiday. So because blackberries obviously were a staple part of their, if they made jam, they had something in. So blackberry picking was a holiday. And there's quite a lot of interesting notes in the diary. Things like the children had a day off to watch the soldiers march past to do exercises up on Dalby Mountain, and really lots of very interesting. They even had a set to with the rector, because the school and the church lived next to each other. That very doorway, on one of his notes in his diary, he's in a right rallying because he says the clasp between the schoolroom and the church has been broken, and that's no more. Then the next day, it was the rector who broke the lock between the church and the schoolroom. And he says he'll do it again if we lock it. So, it wasn't all plain sailing, but it was very, very interesting what went on here.
Do you know when it stopped being a school?
Yes, I do, but I can't remember. Was it
Hang on, I'm just going to run over to Cheryl with the microphone.
Yeah, mid-30s.
Mid-30s, I think. Yeah.
Wow, isn't that incredible?
Breakthrough.
It's just a wonderful. I think there is a little stool, isn't there, or a chair on the windowsill that's from the original school building.
And there's a desk downstairs in the hub, the original school desk downstairs. And we have some slates from the original school.
Oh, wow, I'll have to have a look at those.
Yeah, so if you stick around, then we're going to be recording a podcast after the programme. We're going to go down and have a look at all of that with Cheryl and Margie as well. But we've also invited James Franklin to come and join us from Culture Vannin, because, James, something that we've not yet addressed is, should I say, the spook in the room. We are at Dalby, of course, and there's possibly a very famous resident.
Indeed, the Dalby spook, no less. Also known as Jeff the Talking Mongoose.
Which now has created a whole blog as a result of that. But so tell us a little bit about what you know about how this whole story came about, and then we're going to hear a clip of someone talking about it.
Well, the whole story came from the appearance of a talking mongoose up at Dawlish Cashen, which is a farm up in the hills here between here and Glen May. And there's a family of 3 people up there, and this thing started talking to them from behind the walls.
You talk about it as if this was a very real...
That was very factually delivered.
It was very factually delivered. Now, I contacted you about this a few days ago, and you sent me to a wonderful interview with David Cullister and a chap by the name of Alec Carron. What do we know about Alec Carron?
That he was a good local Dalby man who came to the school where we are now standing.
Fantastic. Well, I've taken a tiny little bit of it, which will give you a rough idea of what Alec thought about the whole talking mongoose story, and will also give you an insight into his relationship with Vorry, who I think was very possibly the voice of the mongoose. Let's hear that now.
Vorry throwing a voice, that's all it was.
A lot of people say that's all it was.
It was. I guarantee that's all it was. I mean to say, my guarantee may not be much, but it was that all it was.
Did you ever get to know Vorry yourself?
Vorry?
Yeah.
I went to school with Vorry.
Yeah.
And she was just an ordinary girl. But you see, Mr. and Mrs. Irvin struck on the idea, that's only my knowledge of it, struck on the idea that they could make a pound or two out of it, you see. And Jeff, the Dalby spook, talking mongoose.
The so-good mongoose, yes, yes.
He was bringing rabbits to the door. This was all coming out when they were, Mr. and Mrs. Irvin were talking to my mother in the cafe.
Yes. So there's ever been no evidence you know of a mongoose actually being about?
Oh, no. None whatsoever. Has there ever been a talking mongoose?
I've never heard one of you.
No, not likely to. But, however, it got very much media publication.
Yeah.
And as I say, those influential people used to come and stop with Mr. and Mrs. Brighton here and trek up at night time about a couple of miles up the rugged road and sit in the house and listen to Vorry throwing a voice.
That was wonderful. Now, that was only just a tiny little snippet there, James. Where can people hear that full interview with Alec?
On the Culture Vannin website, of course.
We'll post the links to that on our blog. And like I said, this, as we said before, this is a gentleman who was from this area. And in fact, we have one of his relatives here.
Yeah, I'm with Eileen Jones, who's known as the chief soda cake maker, who we did hear from earlier. Sorry if that offends anybody else. That's just what I had on my notes. But Eileen, you were Alec's sister-in-law?
Alec Carron, yes.
And did he talk a lot about the Dalby spook?
Only when he was asked, really, yeah.
But it is a thing. Do we all believe that there is something in it?
Do you believe it?
Well, I like to believe it. I think I would like to believe it.
No, I'm not into spooks and fairies.
Speaking of fairies, though,
Yeah,
there's an interesting story with that, isn't there?
There is, yeah. So still with James Franklin here from Culture Vannon, and you mentioned that actually this whole area, there are fairies everywhere, aren't there?
Oh yeah, it's the Isle of Man, isn't it? No, and there's a very good person who recorded a lot of these things from this area, and so there's no end of stories of mermen and ghosts and witches and fairies all around here. And so you could take, meters, you could take a walk and stop every few meters and tell a different story.
And it's one of those things that does sort of set us apart to a certain extent. And as we just heard in that clip with Alec Harron, it turned us into something of a media hub, didn't it? A media hive, because this, certainly the Talking Mongoose, became internationally famous.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's worthwhile saying that the Irvings never made a penny off it. And so this Manx idea of the Dalby spook making money didn't happen.
So Alex was suggesting it was a money-making proposition, but no then.
No, there was really a spook up there and they were really reporting it.
He's convinced. I love it.
I'm convinced. You've convinced me, James. I'm there. I'm absolutely there.
I think after the show we should maybe go looking for Jeff.
Can we? That's
Shall
such
we?
a good idea. Or some fairies.
Okay, well, we'll do that. But we've got plenty more conversation to have here. We're going to be talking about the poetry map with Joe Overty shortly as well. So do stay with us, but we'll be back with you just after this.
Christy?
I'll tell you what I'm going to
Oh gosh, it's badly drawn boy. That was. We are live from Dalby this afternoon as part of our Village Hall series. That's because you've been eating too much soda cake. That's what happens.
You could be right. Yeah.
Do we actually know, James Franklin, what Niarbol means?
Yes, Niarbol means tail. And so it's referring to that one bit of land going out into the sea. And traditionally that shoreline was called the Dalby Shore.
You see, he does know an awful lot, and it is undoubtedly a beautiful part of the world. Joe Overty is with us this afternoon, and Joe, just remind people what your role is.
I'm the Project Officer for UNESCO Biosphere Isle of Man.
And just how special is it around here then?
Well, Niarbol is, well known for a tourist hotspot. Most people on the Isle of Man find their way down here, but perhaps fewer people know that it is actually one of the island's 10 marine nature reserves, newly designated last year. Just under 5 kilometres, a very small marine nature reserve, but it has lots of very special species, including one incredibly special species, the oldest animal in the world.
Which is a mongoose? Is it a mongoose?
It's not a mongoose, unfortunately. It is the Iceland clam, not from a well-known supermarket of the same name, but actually probably originally from the country of Iceland, I would imagine, and it is known to live up to 507 years old.
And there's also something quite interesting about the geology of this area as well.
Yeah, Cheryl's the expert on that, but I believe that at one stage it was taken to have broken off from America, and so that you're technically standing in 2 continents at the same time if you're standing on just down the road from here, so who needs to go on holiday?
See, I didn't know about that, so we will talk to Cheryl about that after the show. But another reason that you're here is something that we've briefly touched on the programme previously, is this poetry map. Now, it seems to me like Dalby and Niarbol would be a brilliant place to perhaps feel inspired to write poetry.
Very difficult to make Niarbol rhyme, surely.
Oh, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, Joe, just remind us what this poetry competition is.
So the poetry map is a collaboration between us, Culture Vannon and the Manx Bard. We are inviting people to visit their favourite places, to be inspired to write a poem about it, or to go and explore somewhere new and write a poem about it.
And somebody quite famous has written a poem about this area.
Indeed. A former resident of the Isle of Man is a well-known lady called Pam Ayres, who many people remember winning a talent competition in the 1970s called Opportunity Knocks, which is was as famous then as the X Factor is famous now. And she lived in the Isle of Man in the late 70s and 80s. She really loved living here. She's moved away now. But she had written a poem about Niarbol, which she has allowed us to include on the poetry map.
So you've been actually liaising with Pam Ayres?
Yeah, I just thought I'm going to email her and see if she has any fond memories of the Isle of Man or a poem, and she offered it back, and she's really happy for it to be published on the map. She's told us that she was actually lovelorn when she wrote this poem. She used to come courting down to Niarbol, and then the relationship broke up very, very sadly, and so she wrote this very melancholic poem about Niarbol and how it made her feel sad every time she came back.
Oh, it is beautiful though, I have to say, and it is, you can read it now, can't you, if you go to the poetry map?
Yeah, absolutely. If you go to entries to the poetry competition of either Biosphere website, so it's Biosphere Isle of Man /poetry map, the actual poems themselves are hosted on Culture Vannin website, which I think has a very similar URL, culturevannin /poetry_map. And we're building up already. We only launched a couple of weeks ago a really nice collection of maps from all around the island, and 3 so far about Niarbyl, so it obviously does inspire people.
I think it really does. And I don't like putting people on the spot, as you know, Christy, but James Franklin just happens to have this poem in his hand. Would you mind reading it for us?
Yep, I can. Well, I'll do the first verse. Maybe it's relatively long. There's a crow cocking in the background. Whatever. I'll ignore that. Niarbyl Bay, where they gather the seaweed to lay on the land, and oyster catchers they run on the sand. All I could feel was the touch of your hand on Niarbyl Bay.
Oh, that's beautiful. And you know what, James, though, I know that's a very heartfelt poem, obviously from a very personal place, but we've spoken to you quite recently about the fact that poetry has been a brilliant way of getting the message out about the Isle of Man, culturally, landscape-wise, in every sort of way, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very much something which is open to everyone to write a poem or to read a poem and to enjoy it. It's very much a direct reaction to this place which means so much to all of us.
And that's really, I think, the key that we've found, Christy, with this Village Hall series in general, is that everywhere that we've visited so far means so much to the people who are connected to it, either historically or on a day-to-day basis. And I've been here myself for the Mums and Tots group. Have to say, Cheryl, what a great place to be on a cold winter's day when that fire's going.
Mums and Tots, yes. It's one of those things that when we started, everybody said to me, but Cheryl, we only have one tot in the village. And we get about 45 people to it.
The food is always very good, actually. It's a lovely bring and share environment, and it's just lovely. And I think you said something earlier about when people move into the village, and the idea of having somewhere here where they can go, regardless of what it is they're into, is so important.
It's a meeting point, and I said earlier on that we started with fundraising. What we were aware of is that actually people needed to just gather, and so we've started a number of things. Mums and Tots was one of them, the soup stops another, the film afternoons and the Sunday papers were all points where we literally said no agenda. These are just meeting points. Initially for the village, and then we've got sort of like a wider group of people who come who like the ad hoc way that things run in Dalby, I think. But so we've got quite a large group email group of people we contact for events, and they turn up for the meeting points as well. So it's like an extended community, which is beautiful.
So you mentioned the Sunday papers. Do people literally just come here to read them?
No. Yes, we're so studious, and then we debate. Not. What happens is it was a carbon saving initiative, which we started about 7-8 years ago. Julie is our coordinator, and Kevin are the coordinators for that. The idea is to stop people from having to go through to Peel individually to buy their papers. 2 people from the village are allocated the role each week, and they'll go and collect their papers, and their partner will light the fire and put the coffee on. So we come down to collect our paper, which has been prepaid at the newsagent, and then we sit around and talk for a couple of hours over very strong fair trade coffee.
Oh, a fair trade. There's a good point to raise.
It is a good point to raise. We've got Anne here, and Anne, you've been very much sort of involved in the fair trade element. We've got a wonderful shop over here. It's gone very well, hasn't it?
Yes, it has gone very well. There's another lady who's really in charge, Pam Gorst, but I do help her, and we collect the fair trade from Margaret Newton, and we sell loads of coffee and loads of baking things. Wish we could sell a little bit more, but we have some now in the shop downstairs. And so, we're able to make more money than we did last year.
And you've raised a huge amount. I know there's a figure on the cupboard over there of thousands of pounds worth, which is all going to wonderful causes. It's obviously quite important to you, that.
Yeah, it is, because we firmly believe that, you know, people who grow crops and manufacture things should get a fair wage for a fair job. So that's what fair trade is all about.
And congratulations to Mark Newton and the others that actually set this up on the island, and us being a fair trade island, I think, is very important.
It really is. I just want to speak to some of the other people who are here who we haven't had a big chat with yet, but Priscilla, who has been very busy in the kitchen with her rolling pin, just tell us about your connection here.
Well, my role mainly is soup stop.
which we started about 5 or 6 years ago, I think. And it's every month, once a month, except for July and August. It's the third Wednesday in the month, and we have 3 or 4 different kinds of soups, lovely bread, followed by the inevitable... Sorry,
Cheryl's just bringing out a toilet roll.
Cheryl's bringing out a toilet roll simply because I happen also to be toilet roll monitor.
It's a very important job, you know.
Actually. Anyway, going back to soup stop. Yes, once a month, and obviously the soup is followed by the inevitable cakes, coffees, teas, and lots and lots of baking always.
And really important for you to be a part of this community hub.
Oh yes, definitely. It's a great community, and it is great fun. Yeah.
And we mentioned the films as well. I've got Rosie with us. I believe you're involved in the film side of things. What sort of films do you screen?
Well, it's a collection of all sorts, really. Some are as near as modern as possible, but it's great. People come from all around the island actually to support us, and they come and enjoy film together, and often discussions afterwards. It's really great, yeah.
Oh, well, it's all wonderful. There's so much going on here, you know, such a mix of stuff as well.
Well, if we just take a walk to the notice board here, I think that really does just give us an idea of how busy this place is. We mentioned the TTTs. They do start on Saturday, June the 2nd, 10:30 until 4:30. We mentioned meditation, which is something that Cheryl's really involved with. That happens on the 2nd and 4th Thursday in the month from 7:30 until 9 p.m. What a space to do that sort of thing. The Dalby Whist Drive, which we have already mentioned, and it could get a little
very
bit...
good with the whist drive, you know.
Oh, yes. And they've got the soup stop, if I can say it properly. Just so much. But if you do want to find out more, you can sign up to the newsletter that Cheryl was talking about. We'll put the details in the blog. And we haven't even been downstairs yet, Christy.
I know. We're going to be having a look downstairs, and so there'll be some video, and also we'll put some audio on the podcast as well. We do have something a bit special, though, that we want to play out before the end of the show. And James Franklin, we have a song that we're going to play out. It's a version by Mira Royal that we're going to hear, a tune that she's playing. But just tell us a little bit about this piece of music.
This piece of music is called Aran Gelby, which is a Dalby song, and it was connected from a mysterious man who we never met, but he just rode into Dalby Shore and sang this song, but we never heard the words, so all we have is just the tune.
And it's been collected, and obviously various people have done it. Ruth Kegan, I think, does a version of it as well. But tell us about this book you've got here.
This is a copy of Mannin Journal, which was put together by the great Sophia Morrison back in the 1910s. This is from 1913, and this was the first place it was published, this Aran Gelby.
Wow, fantastic. You see, always go to James for wonderful little nuggets of culture and importance there. So thanks very much to James Franklin for that one.
And Sophia Morrison's birthday on the 24th, I think, is it, James? Yeah, so that's coming up as well. So, I love all these connections here, but so much more to talk about. Do head to the Manx Radio website and the Facebook page where details of the extra podcast where we go and take a look downstairs at the newly refurbished hub. Just want to say thank you so much to everybody here at Dalby who's been so welcoming. If you are passing and it's open, do make the effort to come in, because some tea will be greeting
Follow your nose, because you can smell the soda cake. It smells fantastic and tastes even better.
It really does.
It's wonderful.
And also thank you to Alex for producing this programme back at Broadcasting House. Matty Cunningham, our engineer, who's been standing there chained to all the bits and pieces. And
Margie Killier for organising this wonderful group of people for us today.
And Ben Hartley for producing the social media. But Cheryl, let's come back to you to close this part of the programme. I mean, we can't really encapsulate in just a minute or so just how special this place is, but you could give it a go, eh?
That's really difficult. I think it's an extended family for all of us. Does that sum it up?
I think it really does, but I think that's the general sense. I have to say, there's a lot of women here. Do you get men in the building?
Only if they remember to take their shoes off. We give them time off. No, the Sunday Papers balances that up, and we also have a hub pub downstairs once a month, and that's another meeting point. So yes.
And if people want to find out about all the events that are going on here, can they sign up to the newsletter?
We don't have a newsletter. We have a website, and so they can contact me if they want information about events. We have a group email, so they contact me and ask to be put on that email, cherylcousins@manx.net. and our website is stjamesdalby.org.
Wonderful, Cheryl. Thank you so much.
There is a sign outside letting people know when you're open as well. It's a lovely little sign, so do come on down. I think it's about time we had a bit of soda cake. Beth,
Oh yeah,
and
I
some
haven't had
tea.
any yet.
You haven't
Greedy.
had any yet. I know. I have to admit. Oh look, the plate's cleared. I didn't even realise I was doing that. Sorry. But let's finish with that beautiful tune as played by Mira Royal, harpist for, of course, Young Folk Musician of the Year for the BBC. And we will be back with you on Monday. Let's have a resounding farewell from Dalby Hall. Thank you very much, everybody. Goodbye.